Subtopper and Wiki, typical person right here. Black Desert Online is ruining my life. Let's fix it.
All right, you guys, this is my 2023 Black Desert Online review. To be honest with you guys, I thought I'd never be making a video like this, but here I am, and I have been playing this game a ton. Probably more than I should, but there's a few reasons for that. So in this video, I'm going to be explaining why Black Desert Online has been gaining so much popularity over the past couple of weeks, but more importantly, my experience playing the game. Now, we do have a sponsor for this video, so we're going to hop into that, and then I'll see you guys back here at the review. What's going on, you guys? A lot of you know that I've recently been sponsored by Starforge PCs, which is pretty okay. So what's going on with Black Desert Online? Well, the game has been seeing a lot of players returning to the game due to several reasons. Here you can see the Steam charts, and this isn't the best representation for how many people are actively playing the game, because a lot of
there are many different platforms.
We'll use the actual Black Desert client, but we can use this to gauge interest. And you can see a lot of players have been checking out the game over the past 30 days. And there's a few reasons for that. The first reason is the Land of the Morning Light expansion, which features long-awaited PvE content through the Boss Blitz. Additionally, though, and more importantly, they recently had their Festa event, or their Heidel Ball, which they gave out a ton of rewards, one of them being a T9 Dream mount, which is a pretty rare mount in the game. A bunch of other shit, but more importantly, I would say, is they had a great showing at the Heidel Ball. A lot of people were very happy with the direction of the game, what was shared, specifically in Korea, as the game isn't normally very popular in Korea, despite being developed in Korea. But since the Lost Ark debacle happened, a lot of people liked what was shared. And then Jay followed up. This is Jay, the lead guy for the game. He followed up with a nice little letter, and then more free shit. And everybody likes free shit. Okay, so let's start with my experience playing the game. Black Desert Online is a different type of MMO. In fact, it's more of an old school traditional type of MMORPG. The world is absolutely huge, and there's a lot to do within the world in terms of like you going around and collecting things, gathering items, and going from area to area. Even if you started off in an area, you will return to that place multiple times throughout the game, and you're actively just traveling across the world, which is why the mount is so nice. Now, a lot of you guys have probably heard of this game, and what you've heard about this game are a few things, one of them being the combat. The combat in Black Desert Online is a lot different than what you would find in a traditional MMORPG. The inputs are a lot different than just simply key binding a skill. The keys you'll be using are like forward, right mouse button, left click, right click, you know, back mouse button. And when I got into the game, I actually wasn't fond of the combat because it was very confusing for me. And then after I gave it some time, I really ended up enjoying it. And there's a lot of depth to be offered within your class. Although it takes some getting used to, once you discover the things like, you know, mechanics like iframes, blocking, frontal guard, stiffen, those mechanics that you see in like fighting games, or even in Lost Ark has something similar to that, super armor. The combat becomes very enjoyable, but it is a bit of a learning curve. Now, if you do pick the wrong class in this game, or you're unhappy with your class pick, one of the systems that I'm a big fan of, at least, is the tagging system. I wanted to shout this out. Basically, what this allows you to do is it allows you to copy over your main character's gear onto another class of your choice, and then those characters' progression are linked. So if you pick one class and you decide you want to try something else, you can simply link your character to that class, and all of your progression is copied over to that character. Additionally, as far as like end game activities go, PvP is a big part of Black Desert Online. I used to be a big PvPer back in the day, and in this game, I've done fucking none of it. I've had more fun exploring other aspects of the game, but the community does seem to really enjoy PvP, as it is kind of baked into the game in regards of like node wars. They also have Arena of Solaire, which is like their ranked 3v3 arena mode, where your gear is kind of equalized. And oftentimes you will be battling other players in the world to fight over farming spots if someone's trying to take your spot from you. The main reason why I did get into this game, though, is the PvE content, the addition of PvE content. A lot of people know Black Desert Online to be this farming game where you run in circles for hours and hours and hours, which can definitely be true. But recently, they've added in multiple dungeons. There's 3 dungeons currently available in the game, with the option of the 4th one coming soon. And I went through all of these dungeons with my friends blind. And the first time you go through them, there's a lot of puzzles that you'll end up solving, and like things that you have to do in order to progress through the dungeon for your first time for the main story quest. Following that, you can then refarm those dungeons at chances of different crates that open up with like loot and resources and materials that you can sell for silver. Boss fights were a lot better than I thought they were going to be. Action combat games traditionally don't have the best group PvE content because it can feel very spammy. If you look at New World or you look at Blue Protocol, for example, in my experience, the dungeon experience isn't the greatest. However, in this game, they do it very well. Some of the bosses weren't my favorite, but at least the capstone bosses of the dungeon were very fun. And it took us a couple of hours to solve some of the mechanics in those dungeons because they weren't that intuitive, but it wasn't something that like your average player couldn't complete if you were going into it blind. But let's be real, most of you guys are going to be using guides anyway. However, one of the main things that I got into the game for was the boss shrine or the boss blitz system, which is the new addition with the Land of the Morning Light. As you can see, this island is the whole expansion area, and this whole island is dedicated to all of the bosses that they recently have added. But the cool thing about this system is that there is a weekly ranking system. So you can go through any of the difficulties that you want on your class, and you can try to improve upon your time if you want. And then there's a ranking system based by class and difficulty. So you can choose your class that you're on, see who's cleared it on which difficulty, and try to improve your time to rank higher. And the higher you rank, the better chance you have at getting better loot. The boss fights themselves feel like Dark Soul encounters. It's a 1v1 encounter. I really enjoyed them. Some of them feel a little jank, but some of them are very enjoyable. And overall, I hope Black Desert or Pearl Abyss continue with this approach because I think it suits the game very well. Now, when you're getting into the game, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. The new player experience, although there is a season system that kind of gives you a ton of free gear and allows you to hop right into the mid game and start doing those bosses, the intro experience and trying to figure out how the game works,
it's disgusting.
Sucks, okay?
Yeah.
And I mean that in the nicest way possible. What I mean by that is there is so many systems and so much depth to the game, which is a great strength of the game. I mean, there's fishing, whale hunting, farming. I mean, you can even sit there in the towns and play music. There's a whole music album within the game, and there's a ranking system for that. There's top composers. There's a bunch of different instruments that you can choose from. There's like bands that can perform. There's a lot of depth to the game. Things that you would expect Final Fantasy to have, this game also has it. And so I was really surprised by that. But with all of that comes just a lot of bloat, and item bloat is no exception to that.
I hate this.
You will be very overwhelmed when getting into the game. So much so that I almost put down the game because I didn't know what all of these items were. Now, they said they're going to be working on reducing the amount of items at the Heidel Ball to make the new player experience better, and they're going to be categorizing your inventory and giving you additional storage. But this...
Like, I hated this. Like, I'm like a completely casual player in video. Like, I was just take a new season character, and I played till, like... Was it 56? Yeah, 56 was like the standard level cap, I guess. After that, it's getting really hard to level, I guess. But yeah, this was the moment when you get your awakening skill, I think. Yeah, but every single time I played through this shit, we got so many items I didn't even care about. Like, for real, I hate inventory load. And I hate that you aren't allowed to manage it or throw that shit out, because Paul looks at it, it might be like pretty important for the end game engine. This way I never threw that shit out, but at the end I never used them. And after that I even lost interest. So yeah, not a good experience.
Is a game that has a bit of a learning curve. It's not going to be a game.
And I played a shit ton of MMOs. I played all the old school MMOs. Not many of the newer ones, because there aren't that many new ones. Ion and so on. Like, this shit it's just too clunky, man.
Hop into
not too crowded, not clunky. This game feels pretty clean to play if you know the combos.
Right away. It's going to be a game that will take you a couple of days to get in the swing of things. Now, with that being said, I want to talk about the end game progression in Black Desert Online. This game has a very steep end game progression, while also offering a lot of different choices in how you can progress through the end game.
Like, what the hell is this?
Gathering items and going after specific accessories or upgrading, getting your first, main hand weapon is rather easy for a mid-game player. There's a lot of easily obtainable items that you can go after that will progress your character, as well as the journal, which is their horizontal system that will give you a bunch of free stats, and that will allow you to enter in dungeons and things like that, or better farm spots. Beyond that, though, the game has a very steep vertical progression for players that are playing the game, have been playing the game for a long time, with a lot of chase items. And that's where you'll see a lot of people farming for hours and hours and hours to get like an item that exists in the game that literally nobody has, right? I can go to Fallen God, and this is a very rare chess piece that exists in the game, at least at the later ranks of it. And some of these items are so rare that like 3 people in the world have X item. Despite having that vertical progression, though, the ceiling to this game increases very slow compared to your standard MMORPG, meaning that a lot of people in this game will either just stop playing at some point, or they can take a break, come back after almost a year, and be almost as geared as when they left off. So what is your end game activities going to look like in Black Desert Online? Well, life skilling is a very big part of the game that many people partake in. Farming for those chase items, running in circles and grinding mobs in different areas of the world. PvP is also a big aspect.
I just want to know the standard progression system. Like, what should I do after 56? I still don't know. Yeah, I can do both professions, but what can I do with the items I have? I want to upgrade my gear, but I see those things, and I just don't know what to do, man. Like, I watched like 3 guides on BDO, like back in the day, like a few years ago, and it tried to figure out shit how to even do the standard stuff. Like, I wanna progress, but they don't let me, man.
For a lot of people, I've also seen a lot of people try,
because if you like stop for like a bit of time and then go back into the game, you don't know shit. This is how it feels as well, always.
To just engage with the boss shrine system and try to improve their ranking every week and seeing how they can place with.
And yeah, don't blame me, I'm just the casual dude. Like, I'm not trying in this game because I don't want to invest most of my time into it. That's it. Maybe it's just not for me.
That system. And there's also a large majority of people that just kind of hang out in towns and chill, just casual players that partake in things here and there. For them, they don't have the biggest desire to continue to progress their character. They're fine having a solid set of gear. They can still partake in activities, but they don't have any interest in farming for chase items. And so that's why you see some of those long-term players grinding for hours and hours, going for various status items that might give you some...
The problem I had is I was doing all of these combos, like using the character to some extent correctly, I guess, but the thing was that I permanently chucked like some potions to even survive. Like, it was insane. Like, I found a spot and then I went back to grab more potions. And what I hated the most about this game was like there's a weight system for your inventory. I think it's completely garbage.
Extra DP or AP, but it really separates yourself from other people on the server. One of the items that I really want to go for on my account is a Pen Blackstar Greatsword, because it's just something that it has a very cool glow, and that's like one of the the achievements I guess I want to get on my account. Outside of that, I don't really care about getting min-maxing my character to the fucking gills, if that makes any sense. Now let's quickly talk about the cash shop in Black Desert Online.
And pay to
Traditionally,
win.
Black Desert Online was seen, or has been seen, as an extremely pay-to-win game. There are people out there that will tell you Black Desert Online is not a pay-to-win game. I don't think that's being truthful. There are definitely some purchases that you can make in this cash shop. In fact, a lot of purchases that you can make in the cash shop that will benefit your character, like storage space, weight, inventory space, fairies, maids, all of those things. You can buy in the cash shop. Now, the major gripe in the past is that you weren't able to obtain these items without actually spending real life money. Nowadays, a lot of those things you get by just playing the game. The game gives you a lot of those things.
Nice.
As far as straight up swiping for power in this game, a lot of people will say that it's not really existent. People don't do it. You can do it. You can buy 35 skins a week if you're able to, and then post them on the marketplace at a capped or regulated price, but it's very expensive and terrible value. And so I'll give you an example of what people are they're talking about. If you wanted to buy the weapon that I mentioned earlier, the weapon that I want to get, the Penn Blackstar Greatsword, that would take you 5 weeks of buying 35 skins a week in order to buy this weapon that costs 150 bill. If you want to take it a step further and you wanted to buy a full set of gear equivalent to that, because that's only one item, my friend Divios and I put the math together. He's super juiced out. It would take you 76 weeks of straight up swiping, which is kind of crazy to actually think about. But to act like you can't buy things in the cash shop, like a tent, a ferry, artisan memory, things that will benefit your character via the cash shop, is not being truthful. You definitely can. It's just not as bad as it used to be in the past. The last thing I wanted to talk about in this game is kind of the community and the GMs of the game. I have not played a game, I mean, probably since MapleStory in 2004, where the GMs are so involved in the game. I mean, they're all over Twitch. They're everywhere in the game. They will randomly spawn next to you and challenge you to a card game. They're always interacting with players in the chat. It's actually crazy.
What the fuck? Can you do this in the game?
Overall, you guys, I don't think Black Desert Online is going to be an MMORPG for everyone. If you're someone that specifically likes just doing raids, you have some of that with the dungeon content, but it's not going to compare to like World of Warcraft. If you're someone that doesn't like long-term progression, this game may also not be for you. Also, if you're sensitive to
get a mix between this and WoW, that would be insane.
This game may also not be for you. But if you're someone that likes an open world MMORPG that has that classic feel to it, if you're someone that likes long-term progression, a lot of depth with classes, you might have a absolute...
But there's there's no long-term progression because it's a seasonless system, isn't it?
Blast playing this game, because there is so much in this game that if I went through all of the systems and things that you actually can do in Black Desert, it would be a 1-hour video. Now, there are a lot of people that I have learned from in the past couple of weeks, and if you are interested in checking out the game, I'm going to have a bunch of links to different creators that have a lot of useful info for new players linked in the description of this video. And if there's anyone that I did miss that I should have mentioned, please let me know in the comments and I will link them in a ping.
Good video. Yeah, great review of like today's situation. And if it's something for you, go and play it, but I still need to think about it. Like, I'm not really sure if I can information overload myself again, but yeah, I guess that's it. I would really appreciate your support, and go subscribe to Stoopz. He made the content, I just reacted to it. And I guess that's it. I see you next time. Wafer.